YouTube. What's going on? We're going to talk about the news today. What were we just? Oh, the God LARP. We're going to have to learn about that. You know, they changed. I have a lot of trans stories today.
Oh,
Is that okay with you?
fine with me.
Okay, great. Yeah, I have a number of stories. You know, what's trending. The reason I found out about one of them, and I'll start recording the podcast. There's no reason not to. Hello, podcast. How are you? Joanna and I are here for you this Saturday evening. You always, oops, I better turn that off. You know, Jelena, you always post the show start time on your Twitter feed in Central Time, as if anyone cares about Central Time.
I know.
I noticed that. I was like, Central, 7 p.m. Central? Nobody knows what time that is. How do you even expect people to tune in?
I expect people who understand time zones to tune in. If you can't, decode the time zone, then you don't need to tune in.
Yeah, but the problem is central. What does it mean? Really, central isn't central because it's more east, right?
It depends.
Isn't it only 1 hour off of East Coast time?
It is 1 hour off of East Coast. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not really in the center. Would be like 1.5 hours different.
Currently,
that would be central. If they had a time zone where it's like 1.5 hours from West Coast time and 1.5 hours from East Coast time, that would be central to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense with how the time zones are currently split up, that if there was a fictional place in the middle that was 1.5 different from each coast, yeah, that would be ideal. I like it because I think that the way that the next few years are going to go, where it currently is Central Time, will be the center of what's left of the United States, you know?
Right. Because you believe in the destruction of the United States. Hey, everybody. The show's about to start. I have the banner up that tells everybody that. It says real show starts in a few minutes. So we're just catching up in the meantime. I'm going to talk about news today on the show. I am going to talk about we're going to talk about the FBI raid. And then I have just some trans news. And then I have a few other stories too. Like I have a crypto related story. We want to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. So actually I can change the banner. Now the show's about to start. Now, the real show. Hey, Jelena, how are you doing this week?
Hey, Nathan. I'm doing good. This has been a wild week.
Yeah, for you personally, right?
Well, yeah, but no one cares about that. Just in terms of the events that have unfolded, it's sequence. Like, you've been paying attention. I know you just got a job, but you've been paying attention a little bit. Would you not say that this has been a wild week?
Well, because the FBI raid and then this other guy that got killed, kind of.
Well, it started with the FBI raid on Monday. And then we had this guy go into the FBI building on Tuesday.
Ricky Shiffer. Yeah, I don't know if it was the next day or 2 days later. Yeah, I have a story about that. You think it was real? Because they killed him.
I have no idea how real it was.
Yeah, he apparently posted on Truth Social about it. What do you think? What are the chances?
I know. How do you get on Truth Social? I've tried.
Oh, yeah. You can't even join, right? Yeah. What a failure of a social media organization. But, it's really hard to compete. That's the only thing. It's very hard to compete with Twitter. They have a very good algorithm, good AI that feeds you up what you want to see most of the time.
Oh, and that was another thing that happened this week. Twitter is what told me that the COVID-19 suggestions have changed.
Ah, yes. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. I didn't have that story queued up. Yes, they changed the guidelines. So you and I are purebloods, right?
Yeah, never been jabbed, never been infected.
Oh, yeah. We're like double purebloods. But you know what they say is that if you think you haven't been infected, that you actually have been. That's what they say. Like I saw stories that say, oh, you think you haven't gotten COVID? Oh, you probably did.
whatever.
But what does that even mean? If you didn't get sick,
Then we're like, yeah, pure-blooded superheroes. So
yeah, right. Natural immunity. Yeah, but and we work remote jobs, right, where we don't have to be jabbed.
yeah,
What are you laughing about?
I was laughing at your voice totally closing up as you were talking about having natural immunity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks. It's very funny.
But
Very.
there's something to it. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't
I
know
don't
how it
know.
works.
I don't know. Well, we made it this far, and now they say, okay, so we'll go over that story. Yeah, they say that vaccinated people and unvaccinated people don't need to be treated differently anymore. Do you think that makes anybody feel bad about what they did?
Maybe.
Like, because if it was me, because like I think about things I've done in the past that I've done wrong and I regret those things, right? I feel like that's fairly human. I don't know though, because the mainstream media never regrets anything. They get wrong, right? So, and then the government never regrets anything that they do wrong. So I don't know. Maybe I'm actually an anomaly, but you would think that the people that said like we should kill unvaccinated, not that nobody said that, but they basically said, I hope like unvaccinated people die, and I don't want to be around them and stuff. And I think that they should all be like forced into isolation and never join the rest of society again. Do you think those people might feel anything? Do you think some of them, I know most of them, see, most people just don't most people don't think about that stuff because they don't want to feel bad, huh? Or what?
Yeah, I don't know if people who were that militant about, everyone needs to get vaccinated or you're a terrible person. I don't know if those people are even looking at it in that lens of like, oh, I was wrong. I think they are probably looking at it as well. The guidance changed because
Right.
people got vaccinated. And, so the people who are in that COVID loop are always going to be in that COVID loop. They're going into that monkeypox loop. They're going to go into whatever loop that the, controllers put on the track. So I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah. 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 I guess that's what I'm seeing. People are like, oh, yeah, it makes total sense. The same people that said that it made sense to have like, vaccine, what do you call them? The pass,
Passports.
Yeah, the same people who said that, some of them now are saying, "Oh yeah, the guidance from the CDC makes sense." They did it because of schools, is why they did it,
Hmm.
because like, it was like really disruptive. But now, people are still forced to get vaccinated in all kinds of industries. And still at my job, if I wanted to go to an event or something, I think they say I'm supposed to be vaccinated, right? Or I just don't go.
Or most companies have a HR exception. That's the
What's
route that
that?
I took.
What's an HR exception? That means because was it a religious exemption?
That's the one that I applied
You
for
went
and
for that.
got. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they can't say no. It's hard to say no because you can get sued and stuff.
But you still need a good reason. Like, definitely don't just, this is not legal advice, don't just write up something like, I believe in God, so I'm not getting the vax, commie fucker. Like, you have to actually put some reasoning into it so that it's
Oh,
looked at
really?
because it's in your HR record, like it's in your record. But if you get one of those, you can also go to events, but it's like a whole thing. And who wants to be on file? I just wanted to see what would happen. But
Yeah, yeah. Then the other thing that changed in the guidelines is they said that there's no more reason to test you if you're not symptomatic.
mm,
Like 5 years later. What's that meme of like Ren and Stimpy? 5 years later. Have you ever seen that meme?
SpongeBob, you mean?
SpongeBob?
Yeah, it's a SpongeBob thing.
Sorry. Got my cartoons mixed up.
That's okay.
5 years later. That's
Hmm.
what the CDC is like right now.
They got
It's like
enough swabs. They don't need any more DNA samples, you guys.
that meme. Yeah. Yeah. I read something that said like they're by their calculus, because of all the people who've been vaccinated and
Hmm.
then all of the people that have had COVID, that's like 95% of people now. That's what I read.
I don't
So
know about that.
that's their reasoning.
Have you noticed like any difference in the number of people in your circle who have COVID or that you know of that have COVID?
I don't have a circle.
Well, I've
Yeah.
noticed.
Sorry. I don't.
No,
I know
yeah.
people in my like I know people in my Discord, and I know people in my Telegram,
Mhm.
and I haven't been hearing about people getting COVID, but
Okay.
I'm not a good measurement.
That makes sense because your chat rooms are pretty based, so I don't imagine they would have COVID. I know a lot of people that have it right now, people
Really.
who got like multiple injections to prevent it and whatnot.
How do they
Um,
know they have it? I mean, are they sick?
it's a good question. I can't independently verify it. I can just tell you that they are reporting that they have COVID based on sickness and I guess testing. I'm assuming testing. So,
Yes, it's not because it could just be testing, you know, because people have been testing themselves even if they haven't had any symptoms, and sometimes it's positive.
oh, these people
Uh,
are symptomatic. They're feeling
Really,
something. Yeah, yeah.
really, wow. Well, it still happens. People still get COVID. It is kind of real, you know. You can get sick, but
Everyone's at high risk right now, just in general. Like, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if we should call it COVID or chemtrails or you know what I mean? Like, everyone
oh,
should just be drinking
because
water.
everyone's immune system is suppressed right now. Is that what you mean? I mean everyone who's been vaccinated.
Well, the vaccines, the amount of stress that we've been under for 2 years, like, I don't think I think that we're vulnerable in a way that we might not have been before, so it's just good to, like, keep your defenses up in every way you can, spiritually, vitamin-wise, whatever, because we don't
Or
know what's really out there.
yeah, or like you could sleep in a tinfoil lined room.
If you
That's
have
all.
the resources to make, like, a bug-out bedroom, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you got to protect yourself from what's out there. But we're in better shape. Yeah, I played that clip on my last show on Rockfin of the guy saying what's happening he thinks is happening to people who have been vaccinated, but I can't repeat that information here on YouTube for sure. But all I can say is talk to your doctor. Isn't that what Tim Pool says? Talk to your
Probably.
doctor. Yeah. If you're concerned about the vaccine, talk to your doctor. If you don't have a doctor, then just have somebody send you hormones in the mail,
Right.
which we're going to talk about on this show. So that's a transition to the trans topic. All right, so we're broken in. We talked about the vaccine thing. You know, Novak Djokovic can't play in the U.S. Open, right?
He
You watch
can't.
tennis? Yeah, because of our vaccine requirement. So it's really weird. Most people don't have to think about this, but I do because my wife's from overseas and has family that might want to like visit and stuff. And I guess they're vaccinated, the ones that are coming, but you can't travel into the United States if you're not vaccinated, unless you're American already.
Right, unless you're a citizen or permanent resident.
Yeah. So, which means that Novak Djokovic, who just won Wimbledon, and is maybe the best tennis player ever, can't play in the U.S. Open right now. I wonder if they're going to change I don't know when the Open starts. I think it's probably too late for them to change the guidance, but it's just a travesty. It is. I mean, this is a guy like you only have so long you can win tennis matches, and he would have won the Australian Open, which he got banned from. He would have won, and so he would have had another Grand Slam, and then he probably would win in the U.S. Open too, because he's good on hard courts.
No, you're right. I shouldn't laugh at the injustice just because it's an extravagant one. It does suck.
Oh, I see. I see what you're thinking. You're thinking he's privileged.
Well, no. Just
No.
that it's a privileged problem to have. But, you're right. Like a lot of work goes into getting to that level and to not be able to compete. I think it's a really good example of martyrdom. He's standing by it. He's doing his thing. He's not caving in even when the stakes are that high. So that's really respectable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like a modern day hero.
Yeah.
So it's like Harvey Milk or something.
I don't know who that
For,
is.
for I think he was a hero for gays. I think. I think. I was thinking of a gay hero who stood up for gay rights and
What it,
comparing him to a vaccine hero.
I don't like that
Except I
comparison.
think people say this guy I just mentioned, though, they'll say he's like a bad person. So I can't. I was just trying to say he's standing up for human rights,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. And the
Like,
good kind of humans, humans who make their own decisions,
amen.
right?
We're losing those.
All right. So you said it was a big week. Okay. And you reminded me of the vaccine news, which we just covered.
Yeah. Remember Anne Hesh? Remember that? That happened this week.
Anne Heche crashed her car. Yeah. Who cares? Her career, she was Anne Heche. Who cares about Anne Heche? Is she even in anything anymore?
That was very insensitive.
Well, I mean, really, she's not like a movie star, I don't think. Not anymore. What is she known for?
It's a great question. She's actually known for some conspiracy related stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not an expert on it. Clearly, I mispronounced the woman's name. I don't follow her career. I was just learning all of this today. That she used to date Ellen DeGeneres back in the whatever, in the 90s, the early 2000s, whenever that was.
Oh, she's queer. Now you can say that. It's so weird. Used to be you can call people queer. Now it's like they're queer. Oh, she's queer, right?
I guess she was.
Oh, she dated Ellen DeGeneres. That's what she's famous for.
Well, that, and she was in Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones, which is one of my favorite movies. What? No, you can't laugh in
Name
the
a
middle of.
more obscure movie that no one's ever heard of.
People have seen
Is there
Volcano.
more? Is there any more? No, really? Volcano, that's what she's known for. There's got to be something that somebody's heard of that she was in. She's just tell me, she's known for being Ellen's girlfriend, right? Basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's your perspective on it. I appreciate it. You're telling me because, again, I didn't really know who this person was. I didn't remember until this event happened. And whenever I see like a car in Los Angeles do something erratic, I immediately get suspicious. My antennas go up. Not that it has to be a self-driving car, but the fact that like it's easy or possible to hack into vehicles always makes me double question things that look like DUIs.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but she was apparently on drugs. So you don't believe, you think maybe her car was taken over by artificial intelligence and driven into a house?
I'm just saying when I saw the news, I didn't rule that out. Do I think that's what happened? Probably not.
She was
But
on drugs. Do you know what kind of drugs she was on?
no, I don't.
I wonder what kind of drugs make you do that. You know?
But yeah, she
They
crashed
said
into
she
a
had
house in Mar Vista. I have this whole rabbit hole about Mar Vista and Mar-a-Lago and all the Mars that have happened this week too.
Mar is Spanish for sea, correct?
Sea like ocean, yeah.
Or lake. Or yeah, usually sea. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was the educational part of the show.
What else happened this week?
Tell me. There was a big hack. The government froze some assets. They basically shut down. This is crypto related. The government blacklisted a bunch of addresses that dealt with this thing called Tornado Cash.
Right.
You hear about that? And they arrested one of the coders for that. Just somebody who wrote code for an open source thing that basically like anonymized cryptocurrency. So it's it's a really good tool for money laundering, basically. But we crypto enthusiasts believe in things like that as being okay because, it's open source and we believe in freedom and people should be free to do what they want with software and stuff. So we think it's okay to have something that launders money for people. But the government didn't think so. And they shut down a bunch of accounts. They say they were related to North Korea. That's the way they say it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And this also week, isn't this the week they announced the 89,000 IRS agents or whatever
That's
the hell?
correct. Yes, the
They
IRS
passed
station news. Yes, the Inflation Reduction Act. Yes, this is why people hate government, I believe, because they write bills and they call them things, and the bills do the opposite thing of what they're called. Do you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Like what was the one they did after 9/11?
The Patriot Act?
The Patriot Act. Right. which attacks patriots, right? Basically,
Yeah.
like now at this point. At first, it was supposed to go after Muslims, but now they use the same powers to go after patriots, right? So now they have the Inflation Reduction Act, which doesn't reduce inflation, might make it worse, but definitely doesn't do anything to reduce inflation. And what it does do is it added 87,000 new FBI agents.
IRS.
So I'm sorry, IRS agents, the worst kind. 87,000. First of all, and then I guess we can show you the job posting. I have that ready for the show today. Here's the job posting that was going around. You were like, "Is this real?" You
Yeah.
asked me, right?
I sent you a screenshot of it. I was like, is this real?
I was like, "Oh, let me look into it." And then I asked Twitter, and there were a number of accounts sharing it, including this one. So this is the IRS job posting, which I guess they have to find. I can't even imagine. How can the government, that must be very expensive.
Wait, you got
And
to read them.
yeah, okay. Adhere to this is the major duties
Like
of the IRS agent. You want me to read it?
yeah, I was just going to say, like, this is a big deal because on any sort of job requisition, like the things that they need you to do most importantly and severely are going to be listed like this, the first few bullet points under major duties. So the fact that they're asking you at a minimum to do all of these things, if you're considering applying to the IRS for this role, is incredible. I'll let you read it now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Adhere to the highest standards of conduct, especially in maintaining honesty and integrity. Work a minimum of 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours, and be on call 24/7, including holidays and weekends. Maintain a level of fitness necessary to effectively respond to life-threatening situations on the job. Carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary. Be willing and able to participate in arrests, execution of search warrants, and other dangerous assignments. Yeah. What the hell, man? Yeah, this is crazy. Can you imagine though? Because who would want to? How are they going to find 87,000 people who want to work 50 hours a week
As like,
and be on call 24/7?
right.
I would never even think about doing a job like that. Nobody, like this shouldn't even be legal to make you work to be on call 24/7, including weekends and holidays. You got to have some time off, right? They're not doctors. They're not like saving lives. They're trying to take people's money. They're trying to take people's hard-earned money. That's their job.
You would only want a job like that if you didn't like Americans.
Yeah. Oh, forget it. 87,000 people though. I looked up the stats. Okay. Because I listened to, what's the girl's name? The queer press secretary. She is, right?
Oh, I don't know. Jeanette something. I don't know her name.
St. Pierre.
St. Pierre. It's a fake fucking name. I hate it. I don't know her name.
What is she, Haitian or something?
Yeah, maybe.
I know she's from several protected groups. She said that they're definitely not targeting anyone making less than $400,000 a year. That's the official line in the government. They said, no, we're very clear on this. These new agents will not be going after anybody making under $400,000 a year. And I thought that's got to be bullshit because, first of all, if you told everybody, hey, we're not going to go after you if you make $400,000 a year, then why would anybody who makes under $400,000 a year not just lie on their taxes, right? So they can't say that. They're definitely going to go after people making less than $400,000 a year if they cheat on their taxes. And then I looked up let's see how smart you are.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, how many Americans make more than $400,000 a year? See, I was trying to do the math. This is what I thought. This is why I asked Google today, so I know the answer. Is I thought 87,000 agents. I was like, how many people even make over $400,000 a year that you need 87,000 new agents? Okay, so how many do you think it is? that make
Like
over 400.
percentage of the population, like the working.
No, how many million?
How many million people make over $400,000
Yeah,
a
I
year?
already told you it's more than a million. So that's the first. So you already have like a leg up
I say
on like a Jeopardy question.
10 million people.
2.8 million.
Oh,
2.8 million. So do you think you really need 87,000 people to go after only 2.8 million? I don't think so. I think it's bullshit. I think they're going to go after regular people just like me because they don't like that I have crypto and I tell people how to.
that's what
You know,
makes sense to me in terms of what the purpose of the agents are. Like it's the crypto, right?
I see. I don't know. Don't know. I know there are things you can do with crypto that make it very secret and where the government would have a lot of difficulty figuring out like what you're doing with it. But I know that if they spend enough resources on it, then they could maybe figure it out a lot more. So, and then
Exactly.
you know,
It's
because
been
the
murky.
because of the public nature of the blockchain, they can do things with AI. They would figure out who you are. They would figure, and then they would track you. That's what they're not doing yet, but which they could do in the future.
That's what I would do if I was running this machine, you know? It makes sense.
Yeah, like I know how you could track the stuff down, but I don't think the government does really. Government doesn't really know what they're doing. That's the problem with the government, I think, is you give them money and they use it really in really inefficient ways. Like the IRS agents, think about this. Okay, think about this. They're hiring 87,000 IRS agents. They have to pay for that somehow. So the way to get IRS agents to pay for themselves is by IRS agents stealing money from, people's hard-earned money.
Right.
That's what they're there for. So that's their purpose. Otherwise, it doesn't pay for itself. Like my
Well,
job, I have to close a certain number of deals every month, because otherwise they're paying me for doing nothing. But so the IRS, if you don't take somebody's money, then what's the point of you?
I have a potential answer if it's not about taking people's money. I mean, it's the same kind of concept of Amazon and Netflix and these other huge institutions never making a profit or like a real one. Like, but they're still operating in like this weird succubus parasite type of relationship. It's like that with the IRS and the government in general. It's still operating. It really shouldn't. It's at a huge deficit. Nothing works. But if they're going to use the IRS, if they're going to, in my opinion, try to weaponize it, if we just look at the job posting, weapons are required, major skill or duty of the role. If you're not trying to get money out of the population, maybe you're just trying to control them through a certain type of fear and threat of
Yeah.
taking everything away from them.
Yeah.
You don't have to take their money. You can just control them.
They went after John McAfee,
They
That's
did.
why when I interviewed him, he was hiding out in a tinfoil lined room. It's because he was getting chased by the feds or the IRS was interested. They really don't like, I pay taxes and I claim crypto too, because that way, as long as you claim it, then they're not going to mess with you, I think. And that's what you're supposed to do. And in any case, that's what I would say, if anybody ever asked me. So I don't like more IRS agents. I think we're better off with less. I think we were better off before we had income tax, which we didn't used to have it. Before 1913, when they started the Fed, that's when they also instituted income tax. And at first, the income tax was just on the very top, just on the richest people. That's how they did it first. They're like, oh, we'll do this income tax thing. Don't worry about it. It's just going to be the richest people. And then, the other trick with income tax, this is great. This is really clever. Okay. So you have inflation, right? And then you have tax brackets. And the tax bracket's like, oh, you make 35 grand, you get paid this amount. You make 50 grand, you pay this amount. So like your income goes up nominally. So now instead of 35 grand, you're making 50,000, but your cost of living has gone up too. So your 50,000 is just buying you the same as the 35, and you've just moved to a higher tax bracket. So that's how inflation can get you. So yeah, they're going after people that are making over 400 grand right now, but pretty soon you'll be making over 400 grand, and a loaf of bread will cost, $35,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they get you. The government they can get you a lot of different ways.
Well, the IRS is how they got Bill Cooper. You know, it was
What did they
tax
do?
evasion.
Oh yeah. See, you just can't talk about. You definitely don't want to talk about it. They went after Peter Schiff too, accusing him of trying to help people evade taxes. And then and Peter Schiff's dad died in federal prison because he didn't want to pay taxes. So it's very dangerous to be outspoken about not paying taxes. Much better to say and really pay taxes.
And like JJ is saying, never lie on your tax return. That's how they get you. It really is. Like when I saw the news about the IRS getting all of the billions of dollars it's getting, that was a big red flag to me. That's part of what made this week so wild to me. I was like, that's how they get people. It's the IRS. That's always used as like the Trojan horse way in to get the FBI on your ass or whoever else they need to get on your ass to really take you out.
Yeah, that's how they get you if they can prove it. So from what JJ said, yes, that's true, but definitely don't lie to them if they have the evidence on you. Like if you get paid, if you do things that are reported to the government and you don't declare them, yeah. If you talk about things that aren't reported to the government that they don't know about, then I don't know, you could say something about them and they wouldn't know any different, and that's the truth of a lot of crypto is like there's stuff there's just no way they would know. So it's a confession is what it is like when you do your taxes, you're confessing to things that you don't have to confess to. You're like, oh, I made all this money. They're like, oh, thanks for telling me. That'll be 20%, please. You know what I mean? That's what's so great about it. It's like they have no business. Actually, the government has no business knowing what you do with your bank account. They shouldn't be monitoring your bank account, your Cash App. Now they report that. That's why they did it with Cash App. Is because before you could get money through Cash App and then it's just up to you to say how much you got. But now the government finds out. So now if you don't declare it, yes, you're going to get in trouble. If you don't declare something that they got reported automatically, that's when they get you, basically. But otherwise,
my view on it is we won't have to listen to it very much longer anyway if you're in one of the free states once the revolution kicks off.
Okay, right. Now you're talking about the revolution.
It's being streamed and televised. It's all over the place.
All right. So let's talk about the Civil War then. That's what's trending, I feel like. Civil War, people are talking about it. Yeah. And then there's this guy that got shot going after the FBI building, Ricky Shiffer, who is probably, I'm sure there are lots of 4chan posts celebrating Ricky Shiffer, I assume, because that's what you do with mass shooters.
Was he a mass shooter?
I don't think he even shot anybody. It's a weird story. Apparently he had a nail gun.
A nail gun?
Yeah, I watched a video about it. I was like, And he posted in between going into the FBI building and getting killed, he posted to Truth Social that he just went to the FBI building.
Like from within the building?
I mean, I don't know, like while he's on the run. He was like, oh, I was just at the FBI building, just so everybody knows. And then he got killed after that in a cornfield, allegedly.
A cornfield?
Yeah. You don't know the story?
No, I hadn't heard it.
Okay, we're going to get to that. So let's talk about what that was reaction to. So the FBI, the biggest story of the week, and we're getting to it. Let me see. this doesn't operate like a normal news show. Normally, you lead with the big story, like the headline story. So we're 35 minutes into the show, and we're just getting to the big news, which was the Mar-a-Lago raid. Okay. So Trump got raided this week, and that's even controversial to call it a raid. Some news organization said, "Oh, it wasn't a raid; it was a search warrant, execution of a search warrant." What do you think? Do you think there's a distinction between what they did in a raid?
I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is yet, but I did notice that it was clever marketing of Trump to immediately call it a raid, because within like the first 24 hours, that's what everyone was calling it. Even the mainstream media, corporate press was calling it a raid. It
Right.
wasn't until after they were like, wait, this isn't having the impact. We need to change it to execute a search warrant. So I noticed the language thing.
Yeah, right. They were like, "Oh, this doesn't sound good." People are going to start getting the wrong idea. Yeah, so that happened. So let me give people the news just in case you haven't been caught up on the news. His compound at Mar-a-Lago they executed a search warrant. Bunch of agents searched it. They took like 15 boxes of documents. Meanwhile, he hasn't been president for 2 years or 18 months or something. And he was already talking to the feds about the disputed documents, and there had already been a bunch of back and forth about there being documents, and he was cooperating generally, I believe. And then they decided that now was the time to raid him, and so and now the report is out. The warrant has been released, which says what he's under investigation for, which is having some documents, maybe transmitting some documents, maybe destroying some documents. It's under the Espionage Act, covers the unlawful retention of defense-related information that could harm the United States or aid a foreign adversary. That's one part of it under the Espionage Act.
And we know the punishment for being found guilty under the Espionage Act.
Death, at least as far as Donald Trump is concerned, right?
Yeah, once I saw that trending, within again a day of the Mar-a-Lago thing, as the dust was still settling, treason, espionage, these things being quoted by the bots on Twitter, it's getting very real out
You
there.
knew then that's when it was real. Yeah, Espionage Act. But Donald Trump says what you should do with spies. And he didn't pardon Julian Assange, did he?
He didn't.
And he didn't pardon himself,
No.
which he could have done, apparently, in advance. So, what do you think then? What do you think about what happened?
I mean, where to start, right? First, this is correct that this has never happened to a former president before, right? Like the
That's
FBI
what
has
they
never
say.
gone into someone's house that used to be president and been like, "Give us the papers.
Right.
I'm gonna break open your safe."
Not even Richard Nixon or anything. Right.
Not Nixon, not the Clintons. So that's startling on that level. I'm honestly still processing it because it feels like a very big event. And I don't usually say that about the things that happen on the news. Everything to me is kind of like, okay, yeah, this is part of the play. We're going on, we're moving through the act, da 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 da. But this felt like a page turn. Like this is on a different part of the journey now. And I think this is going to have really huge ramifications. You can go ahead.
So, do you think so the narrative at first was that the FBI was completely out of line, right? Basically, it was just, at least from one side of things, but it was fairly common that the FBI was completely out of line. Now that they've unsealed the warrant, people are a little more like thinking about it, like thinking, oh, did he do something wrong or didn't he? But I guess most people, maybe a lot of people still just think total overreach. And
Yeah, what does the warrant say?
it says that they're searching for documents related to this stuff.
Yeah, that's bullshit, right? Like, my thing is,
I don't
why are
know.
we giving the FBI the benefit of the doubt on any of this? Like, I'm not going to be convinced until I see like what actually happened. The FBI is the FBI. They've never. Let me be careful about my words here. But like, does no one remember, like, I don't know, Waco, or Oklahoma City or MLK or like,
Right.
this is the FBI we're dealing with. They've been armed against the American citizenry for a very long time. And so I don't know if any of what they're saying is true or relevant, or if there's important documents that Trump was hiding, or da 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 da. It feels very fabricated to me.
Well, what do you mean fabricated?
Like, every president probably takes home shit,
Oh, right, right,
Like, this is
right,
a fabricated event. Like, oh God, no.
right. And they didn't go after Hillary for her emails where she had classified emails and stuff. And Huma Abedin had classified emails because of that. And they never raided them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it does seem out of line. It does seem like it's going to backfire if it's not serious. If they don't get something, then it's going to be really bad. So where it is now is already pretty bad. But if they don't have anything, then it's like people are going to completely lose their minds. And Trump will probably be the next president, I guess. Don't you think? Like, if he beats this one, then is there anything stopping him?
I mean, no, if he would be able to beat this, then no.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there are better candidates for sure, but I don't know if he's going to beat it or not. He might have technically broken the law, and he might be barred from running again as president if he did. That's what I'm thinking.
I think maybe there's a flaw in thinking of it like, well, if they don't have something, then it's going to be bad. People are going to lose their minds, because the split has already happened. There are people who are going to see guilt regardless and innocence regardless. And these two cults on either side are going to be like the tinder that gets this war of a civil war started.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the FBI does find or doesn't find, what they say, what they don't say, what Trump, it's already set up. It's already happening.
Even if it ends up, yeah, I guess it is, the division thing is already set up. You have some people saying, like, they leaked also after Garland came out and defended the FBI and said they were going to unseal the warrant. Then they leaked that he had nuclear secrets to the Washington Post.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy because they said they weren't going to say anything about it. And then they did leak it. And obviously, when somebody leaks something, they get approval to leak it pretty much, because otherwise they'd get fired.
And it's very interesting when the nuclear stuff was leaking, because Jared Kushner immediately got brought into it. I was seeing the trend of like, oh my God, it's nuclear documents that they hid at Mar-a-Lago. And oh my God, is it a coincidence that Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of the former president, like made a $2 billion deal with the Saudis? Did he sell them nuclear weapons? Oh my God.
Right.
Like, they were going full conspiracy narrative, like basically projecting everything that Hunter Biden probably did onto Jared Kushner. Quickly. That was quickly what I saw happening. And that makes me,
Very
again,
interesting. Well, he was, Donald Trump is very cozy with the Saudis. So that's an interesting conspiracy theory. It's possible. You never know. They do like to do things to make money, those people.
I mean, all of them are. Hillary Clinton with the uranium and the
Trumps,
Russians.
I mean the Trumps by
Oh,
that. When I said those people,
I just meant all of the people.
in case people thought just in case people thought I was talking about a particular group or something. I was talking about the Trumps.
I was talking about presidential power, people within presidential power realms.
Yes.
Do shady shit all the time.
Yes, correct. Exactly. Not just people of Jared Kushner's persuasion. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm saying. And he what was I gonna say? Is I got off track because I thought I might have insulted somebody. So, oh, I was gonna know what what ended up on Twitter. What people end up saying, and it's just fake news. This is how fake news goes out. Is people then start tweeting, and then there's thousands of likes and stuff. They tweet out, "Oh, they found nuclear documents at Mar-a-Lago," and then that's what it says on Twitter, and it has thousands and thousands of interactions. They found nuclear documents at Mar-a-Lago. And I'm like, well, that's fake news, 100%. And you could fact check it and say, no, nobody's saying they found nuclear. Like nobody's saying that. Not the leakers, not anybody. But on
Right.
Twitter, that's what people say. So there are a bunch of people on the left right now that think that not just because of the leak, which said that they were looking for nuclear documents. Now people have translated that and they say, oh, they found nuclear documents. Now a bunch of people think, oh, they found nuclear documents. Or that he had nuclear documents. But that's not the case. Like, we don't know that.
We don't know that at all. And I've been hoping that a lot of these tweets that go viral with 50 to 100,000 people retweeting it and liking it, and it's just totally like fabricated conspiracy lunacy. I'm hoping it's bots, I'm hoping it's paid actors. I'm hoping it's not like everyday Americans who aren't asking questions anymore at all and just being fed whatever is being fed to them. But what's
I
that?
think you're being optimistic about people. Sometimes when you think that it's all bots, sometimes it gives you the wrong impression of like what real people are really doing. And I think sometimes some of them are real people because it just means that people are dumber than you give them credit for.
At least in the number. That's the thing, is I know that there's always a spectrum in dumbness, intelligence, whatever. But like, it seems like there would have to be a lot of really dumb people if most of the people on Twitter and on social media in general who are liking and sharing these toxic posts are legit.
Mm-hmm. Right. They probably, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how many of them are bots and how them aren't. But I know real people are that dumb for sure. I've learned that. I've learned that over time.
Yeah.
People really, it's like either you get yourself in trouble when you start to overestimate the intelligence of people. If you give people too much credit for being able to think for themselves and actually be able to like have critical thought, if you think that too much, then you're going to get yourself in trouble. You have to think maybe more. Maybe you want to err the other way. Just assume that most people behave like bots, and that's why they seem like bots, because that's how sophisticated their programming is. They're like not quality people, but there are a lot of them. We call them NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
They seem like bots. They behave like bots. And in a video game, they would be bots. So you know the joke about every time there's a mass shooter, right?
No, I don't know the joke.
Well, you always hear that they were previously known to the FBI. Right?
Yes,
Always.
yes.
I mean, you could make a joke out of it. Every mass shooter is previously known to the FBI. So I thought this was an interesting story. Ohio man was on the FBI's radar for months. Did you see this?
I haven't, no.
Yeah. So yeah, he was apparently killed in a cornfield. He apparently had on body armor. He was apparently at January 6th. And there's a photograph of him from there. The FBI had information about him before he did this thing. A neighbor at his apartment complex said the FBI had visited his property a few weeks ago, asking questions about him, like when he left for the day and when he came home. So what do you think about that?
Were they also asking if he was ready to initiate the next step in their plan?
Yeah, exactly.
You ready, guy? Showtime in 2 weeks. You ready?
Yeah, right. Oh, I just want to make sure you're not actually thinking about backing out on doing that thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the guy, he looks like an actual FBI agent.
Oh, I don't know if there are pictures in this article where I can show people what he looks like.
He looks like one of the guys who was like in the meme of January 6th with everyone in like the khakis and the polos and the hats standing in a circle with the cop glasses on. He looks like one of those guys.
Hmm.
I was like, they just
Well,
copy and pasted him out of that into this reality. Okay.
yeah, apparently he posted some things on Truth Social about a call to arms, and he said we have to go after FBI agents and stuff. So, or I don't know if he said we have. Yeah, he said something about that on
He
Truth
did
Social, allegedly.
a call to arms. Yeah, I can't
Call
check
to
it
arms.
myself.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Like, you used to be a false flag investigator. Does this look like a real thing to you? How real does this look
No,
to you?
I really don't know. It's weird. It's weird that he was posting on Truth Social in between going to the FBI agent, in between going to the building and getting killed. Like that always seems weird to me. The San Bernardino shooters did that too. They were posting on Facebook like while they were doing the shooting, basically. I always thought that was a little suspicious. So
Yeah.
this guy posting to social media after he did the FBI thing, I don't know. It's possible. Anything's possible. And then he got killed in a cornfield after some kind of standoff. So nobody's going to ask any questions about it. He's conveniently deceased.
Yeah, it sounds like a movie shoot. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, let's see. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden is still free. I have a story about.
Isn't that wild, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Hunter
Hunter Biden
Biden.
is still doing fine. I have a story about Hunter Biden. Let's see.
He's still roaming the streets, going to float tanks,
I know.
doing crystal meth.
Crack, I think, is what he prefers. He probably doesn't like to hear crystal. Hunter Biden laptop repairman John Paul Mac Isaac said the FBI agent threatened him to hush up. I guess the laptop guy, he wrote a book.
The guy who owned the pawn shop?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He wrote a book about it.
Is it on Audible?
I don't know.
I don't read.
I don't
so
know.
I'm going to need it on Audible.
His book is called American Injustice, My Battle to Expose the Truth.
All right.
And yeah, he said the FBI agent said, quote, "It is our experience that nothing ever happens to people that don't talk about these things." That's what they said. Nothing ever happens to people who don't talk about it. That's how they threatened him. What do you think? Sinister.
Yeah, I mean, I want to read the book. That's what I'm curious about now, because this was a real thing. This is why I think that what's going on with Mar-a-Lago and bringing Jared Kushner into it and throwing around words like treason and espionage, the reason why that's going to work as a way to trigger the right into a Civil War Tim Pool type of situation is because we clearly see that, like, on the other side of the political aisle or whatever, like, it's actually happening that way. Like, Hunter Biden actually is a terrible person who's done terrible things, and he's the son of the president, and oh my God, the Ukraine, Burisma, whatever. And that the fact that that's not being acted on, but Trump is, like, that's going to drive people crazy enough to where I think a war situation is much more possible than it was a week ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're thinking there's going to be like a real thing that happens. I wonder. People talk about civil war all the time. I wonder if we'll get there. So I have an update. Anne Heche was on cocaine during her crash, apparently. She was apparently on cocaine, but
A lot of people are on cocaine.
I know, exactly. So that's kind of demonizing cocaine. Like, most people who do cocaine don't crash their car into somebody's house.
Yeah, it's fair to say.
So thanks for tuning into this show. Thanks, people who support the show. If you want to support the show, you can tip on Rockfin, and I'll thank people for their tips. And you can also go to jelena.net, and you could also support. I have this thing here. We have a Cash App at $LTV411 if you want to support that way. Otherwise, go to jelena.net and check out our t-shirts. Get one of our propaganda shirts at truthclothing.io. I wonder if I should show that website. I haven't done an ad for a while. Truthclothing.io. We have really epic shirts in stock right now and inflation proof. because they go up in value after you buy them because they become more limited. So check them out, truthclothing.io. You see, we have our Nassim shirts, our propaganda shirts. Do you have any of our stuff, Jelena?
I do. I have the propaganda. I have the Russian bot, which you no longer sell, but that's a favorite.
Cool. Do you wear them?
Yes, I do.
Truthclothing.io. Check out that site and get a t-shirt. Okay, now I have the controversial part of the show, the trans news. So do you
Oh,
want to go over that? There's definitely some news going on the trans kids side of things.
there has
So do you
been.
hear about the latest updates?
I have heard a lot about Tavistock this week closing. I've heard about Joan of
Yes.
Arc.
Oh yeah, right, Joan of Arc. Right. Where's that story? Joan of Arc. Okay, yeah. First of all, Joan of Arc is being portrayed as non-binary now at the Globe Theatre in the UK. So I have that story here. Joan of Arc to be. I don't know what that even means. They're apparently changing her pronouns in the play to be they them pronouns. And apparently they had some kind of non-binary writer rewrite the script so that she was non-binary or they were non-binary.
I mean, what do we expect of the theater? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, right. Well, it is okay. The Globe Theater historically it was a bunch of like men playing women. So, I mean, that's in history. Actors have played the other gender forever. And there's Peter Pan, where it was always played by a woman and stuff like that. So it is, gender bending and theater do go kind of hand in hand. So maybe it shouldn't be that surprising. But a lot of people are upset because Joan of Arc is a historical figure who was female. And so portraying her as non-binary is not exactly sticking to like history or anything because she was a female person. There was no such thing as non-binary when she existed, right? She dressed like a man, she fought like a man, but she still got burned at the stake like a witch.
That's a really good quote.
Which is because you're a woman, right?
Yeah.
So that's going on definitely in the news. And then there are these children's hospitals, more than one, who are putting out information about gender affirming care. So do you want to see those videos?
I do. I just wanted to say on the Joan of Arc thing about, I get it from the perspective of course, like the communists run the theater, like they're going to do weird shit like this. I think the bigger issue is like if they apply this lens to everything literally, like, no, Joan of Arc, separate from our artistic interpretation of it, she actually was a they them, or they were actually a they them, like rewriting history seriously.
Right.
That's what's annoying, especially for badass women. Like, come on, you can't take the stories that we do have and make them about people who, oh, well, actually, they weren't a woman because they were too awesome. So
yeah, right, exactly.
They were clearly at least non-binary, if not trans.
Yeah. Let me show you these things. This is from Boston Children's Hospital. So this is just really disturbing stuff to play for people, but I am going to play it and I'll get into the different things that are going on with Libs of TikTok now. But anyway, this is from Boston Children's Hospital.
Gender-affirming hysterectomy is very similar to most hysterectomies that occur. A hysterectomy itself is the removal of the uterus, the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus, and the fallopian tubes, which are attached to the sides of the uterus. Some gender-affirming hysterectomies will also include the removal of the ovaries, but that's technically a separate procedure called a bilateral oophorectomy. And not every gender-affirming hysterectomy includes that, and people who are getting gender-affirming hysterectomies do not have to have their ovaries removed.
Great. Boston Children's Hospital, where the world comes for answers, is talking about gender-affirming hysterectomies. And I just have to ask, why? Why is that gender-affirming, by the way? Like, why do you need to get rid of those parts?
I mean, the Bolsheviks running things right now have an explanation for that, which is bullshit. What I think they're doing, sorry, I'm triggered by that commercial
I
because
know.
going after the children is so fucked up. It's the worst thing you can do. They're literally going to the source of where life comes from. These children who have all this potential ahead of them, who have these malleable minds, and they're corrupting them in a direction to mutilate themselves and castrate themselves and make them completely unproductive citizens, people, humans. It's sick.
Unproductive in the sense that they can't produce babies, you mean?
Yeah, but like also just the mental and physical harm they're putting these people under by giving them like optional hysterectomies and optional mastectomies and optional like really crazy shit to alter your body permanently.
That's what I was wondering is like, why is it necessary? Why does that affirm your gender? Because it's not like taking those parts away suddenly makes you a man, you know? It just takes parts away from you that you had otherwise and that
Exactly.
you could use later if you'd change your mind about anything, you know, that you might want to use later. Like right now you think, oh, I won't need these parts. Let's affirm my gender and get rid of them. But then later you might think, oh, I really miss those parts. I
And
wonder why they stole them from me.
children too have no idea the side of or the repercussions of this, like the impact of this.
Can you imagine making a decision like that when you're like 15 or something?
No.
Give me a break.
I think about
You
this
ever
a
talk
lot.
to a 15-year-old?
Not recently, no.
I mean, they're so dumb, you know, like they're so stupid. Like you can't. That's what I don't understand about. That's one thing I don't understand about pedophiles. It's like, what do you have in common with a fucking kid? You know, like they don't know what's up. Like kids don't know what's up. That's why they're kids. Like they don't understand. Like they don't understand the world. They don't understand hardly anything. That's why we don't let them choose to drink and stuff or smoke cigarettes because they don't know what's bad for them, supposedly. But then you're allowed to, well, yeah, we'll remove like huge parts of your anatomy to affirm your gender. Yeah, you can consent to that. Sure. No problem. It's illegal in Texas, right?
I hope so. That would seem correct.
I think it is. I'm going to get into that story a little bit more too. It has to do with Texas and hormones and stuff. Yeah, I think it's illegal in Texas.
So do you think there's a reason why these surgeries are being done on children beyond just like total incompetence and idiocy? Like, do you think there's a reason bigger than that?
I think they might be profitable. It must be for these hospitals to be advertising it. That's what's really upsetting about it is because I've had people tell me, you know, oh, they do this because it's profitable. And I thought, oh, really? I wonder if it really is that profitable because how many people are really doing it and stuff. But obviously, if they're promoting it, they're a business. They're a business and they must make money from it. So, and insurance covers it too. I was looking at my insurance coverage for my job. And it's like, oh yeah, all this gender affirming crap. Like a lot of it's covered. So, which means that, you know, the hospital makes money off of the insurance companies, whoever decides to do it. If you work for the government, it's definitely covered. That's why people do it in the military or in prison. You can get free gender transition, you know, and somebody's getting paid for that stuff. So yeah, that's what makes it even like way worse is that it's like financially motivated, that because they make money from it, that they're pushing this stuff on kids who definitely don't know any better. You know, I can say.
And the whole medical industry has been doing that. Like even the the Brazilian butt lift, right? Are you familiar with that?
The Brazilian butt lift.
Yeah, it's called a BBL. Yeah. All of these women, impressionable younger women, usually inspired by the Kardashians or influencers that look like the Kardashians, got this surgery to get a bigger ass. And turns out it's like super toxic and terrible, and you can't have it in you for more than a decade or you're probably going to die. Like,
right.
And why did they do that? You know, why was that even an option for people to do something like that to their bodies?
Right. I know. It's crazy. It makes you think, like, I don't like the government to regulate things normally. Like a libertarian point of view is like, oh, well, let private enterprise do whatever private enterprise does. But with stuff like this, like, oh, they got to ban that stuff. You know, that's what I think is. So it's different than a regular libertarian point of view. But I'm like, no, if they shouldn't be. You got to ban it basically, because I don't think people are like, I just don't think people can consent to it. Really, if people can't consent to sex in this country, right? You can't even consent to sex until you're 18 in the United States, which is really prude when you look at the rest of the world, right? Where the age of consent is like 16 or 15 some places or whatever. So we already then this country was like a Puritan country. We have all kinds of puritanical laws, but then we're going to so you can't have sex. Oh, but you can permanently alter your sexual anatomy.
Right.
And you can consent to that. Yeah, that's cool. You can consent to that. And you understand what you're doing. Yeah, you know that you are what you think you are and stuff, and no problem. But no, you can't. That's crazy.
Well, even beyond consent, it's not even like they're allowing kids to consent to it. They're encouraging kids to do it.
Right.
Like this is the preferred option. Like if you think, or not for everyone, but like there are many parents who have children who are acting in ways that are now classified as transy, right? Like, oh my God, they like female things and they're a boy, or they like boy things and they're a girl. The best thing that I can do for them to support them is to help them medically transition. And it's like, whoa. Wow, how did we get there? How is that the conclusion that is agreed to is the best option?
I know. Like, why can't people just be gay? Like, there's nothing wrong with being a like flamboyant homosexual, or the opposite, or a butch D word, like they used to say. So there's nothing wrong with that. We've had that forever. You know, there's no reason. We still know, you know, you're a girl. I don't know. So this is the other video. This is from Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh.
Hi, my name is Priya Dar. I'm one of the doctors at the Center for Adolescent and Young Adult Health here at the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about puberty blockers. Puberty blockers are basically a medication that says, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty. And that can be really beneficial for younger kids who have already started the puberty process, who either might go through a lot of psychological distress as they go through puberty if they're struggling with gender dysphoria, or for somebody who's saying, hey, I'm not really sure if I feel comfortable in my body or what gender I truly identify with. Hi, my name is Priya Dar. I'm one of the...
Wow, that's so crazy. It's so crazy to hear a medical professional say it can be really beneficial. Like, no, we don't have any evidence that it's beneficial.
The fact that that is a medical professional.
I know, it's crazy.
And
you know, I definitely don't. I definitely don't agree with like forced diversity in terms of hiring and stuff for TV shows and so forth. Like, you shouldn't force Seinfeld, for example. If their main characters are white, whatever, that's their show. It's whatever it is. But if it's a show about doctors, I do expect to see an Indian doctor. So it is on point, at least. I mean, you know what I mean?
It fits expectations.
You know, yeah, you know, she's a real doctor, at least.
But the idea that a real doctor, so confirmed, real doctor, Indian lady in a hospital hall.
Right. I mean, yeah, she's got the stethoscope. She's Indian. I figure out that's definitely a doctor.
But the fact that a doctor could be saying something like, hey, you know, if you're not comfortable with going through puberty, you can just say stop, you know, hold on. What the fuck kind of medical advice is that? Excuse my language.
Crazy. She was like, oh, yeah, it just puts a pause on it. What?
It puts a pause on like a necessary process in the development of a human being.
Wow. I mean, wow. Yeah.
Just like if you don't feel like it, you don't know what you want to be when you grow up.
That's what she said. She was like, oh, yeah, if you just don't feel like going through puberty right now, then just put a pause on it. No big deal. Not like there's going to be like lasting damage or anything, or not like your bones will become brittle and shatter like Mr. Glass.
There's so many terrible things that can happen. And I've been following on Twitter some people who are detransitioning from a gender affirming healthcare regimen of different surgeries like this, the puberty blockers or the testosterone or the mastectomies. And when you come out of that, when you decide that's not what you want to be doing, you're like a rattled, broken person. You have to figure out what the fuck to do with yourself now. Like the destiny that they're inflicting on these kids is so fucked up that they would make someone suffer like this, like they're trying to. It makes me really mad.
I don't know. Like if there's a lot of evidence that, like she said, that it's really helpful for people, then sure, that'd be one thing. But the evidence, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen how it's really helpful.
There's no evidence.
Usually it's really helpful to go through puberty.
Yep.
Like that's the way. I mean, at least that's the I don't know, man. I guess it requires you. It does require you to be kind of godless to think this way, because you have to think you're smarter than God is, basically. Or
Right.
You have to basically, I mean, that's the only way you can think of something like these hormone replacement things, or it's like, oh no, I know better. I know, yeah, I was made this way, and yeah, I know billions of years of evolution or whatever, which I do believe in because I believe in evolution. I know that I know this all randomly happened, but you know, all these years, all this stuff, but I know I'm not supposed to go through puberty. It's going to be bad for me because I'm not actually a guy. No, like God screwed up. You can't believe in God because you'd have to think, oh yeah, God fucked up when I was born. I'm not who I'm supposed to be, but you have to, right?
Right. Either a sense of godlessness or just a total lack of faith in anything at all, just in like general patterns and cycles and behaviors. Like everyone grows into themselves eventually.
Yeah, everything's random. Yeah. Like, yeah, everything's just totally random. Yeah.
Yeah. You can customize your avatar however you want.
Yeah, whatever.
No repercussions.
No repercussions. So then the other part of this is Libs of TikTok and Matt Walsh found an influencer who's peddling like hormone drugs to teenagers, maybe who watch his show, and saying, oh, like if you need puberty blockers or if you need hormones and you can't get them because it's illegal where you are now, like in Texas, we'll send them to you. Or like, I guess there are trans people, and that's what I'm showing this tweet from a doctor who says, this doctor says, I know a lot of trans folks are losing their meds these days, completely unrelated to the fact that trans youth in many states can't get access to meds. I always send refills to any of my patients, no questions asked. And that's a doctor.
Yeah.
Who basically realizes, they're like, oh yeah, I realize we're trafficking drugs to people who aren't supposed to get them, but I support that to kids, basically.
That's like half of what the U.S. Postal Office does now, is send drugs that shouldn't be sent in the mail to people.
How do you know about that?
No comment.
Yeah. Well, it's true. People do send drugs in the mail. You know why? Because they don't really check the mail, so it's like basically legal. But you're not supposed to send prescription drugs to someone who doesn't have a prescription. So this stuff about that they've caught this guy doing, which is basically, you know, and I understand people, I know stupid laws, etc., but you're not supposed to take drugs that weren't prescribed to you. And it's illegal to share drugs that were prescribed to you with someone else who they weren't prescribed to. And that's because a doctor is supposed to look at you at least. So in this case, it's like, oh, they banned it in Texas. It almost is making it worse because now people are getting it on the black market. And a doctor can't even talk to them about it. You know, at least you should, if somebody's going to get on it, which again, I don't think people can consent to it. Like, I don't think that they're qualified to, but let's say they were, you would at least want them to see a doctor who says, oh, this is how much you should take or what have you, and not have somebody send it to you on the black market. Some adult basically who's getting some kind of hormones from their doctor sending a kid hormones because they're not allowed to get them in their state.
So do you think this is a signal, though, of the hormone therapy, gender affirming pill thing disintegrating in the US? And I'm bringing that up just because of what's happening with Tavistock and the closure of that. And I've seen a lot of backlash now from people in England and the UK, whatever, against the gender affirming stuff. Turf Island. Is that what the UK is called now?
That's what they call it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Turf Island. Yeah. They're the ones who led the charge on this whole thing as people in the UK, feminists in the UK,
God
including
bless them.
J.K. Rowling. Yeah.
Love her.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. That's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I can't imagine I guess, I don't know. I can't believe that. I suppose if you criticize this stuff, then you're transphobic or something. Like, I can't even believe that would be a thing, that criticizing doing stuff to kids could be considered transphobic somehow in this world.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know how many people actually consider it transphobic, because I know that's the talking point that they want us to think is a popular opinion so that we don't speak out against the mutilation of children. But like, clearly children are being mutilated and their lives are being ruined. And not just children, but just impressionable people in general, like kids, teens, 20s, 30s, like whatever. It's disgusting that this is being peddled as the solution. It's just like when, they gave women lobotomies back in the day because they were thinking too much. That's not going to solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And I see some people in the chat saying, what happened with Tavistock? They shut down Tavistock. In case you don't realize that, I see 2 people commenting about that. Yeah, they shut down Tavistock in the UK because of giving bad advice to kids, basically, because there were so many scandals about kids being pressured into changing their gender or being rushed through, basically, too quick to this affirming thing, that they shut it down over there in the UK. Yeah, and there's a lot of backlash there. It's much more common than here.
I hope it will become more common here.
Yeah. I think, well, the thing is it is common, but people aren't saying it,
Yeah.
like,
more people need to talk.
I think most people feel that way, I think most people, but then it's because of this very vocal minority of people and the fact that you can get canceled for whatever, because somebody gets upset about what you said. So, all right, we'll take it over to, you want to take it over to Rockfin for phone calls?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Yeah, we could take a few phone calls. All right. So I'm going to take it over to Rockfin because I can't control phone calls and they can get a little bit spicy. Thanks everybody for tuning in on YouTube. I appreciate it. Make sure to visit my sponsor, our t-shirt store, truthclothing.io, if you want to support the show or support us on Rockfin. I'm going to go over there now. We're also on DLive too. So dlive.tv/lifttheveil and rockfin.com/lifttheveil. I'll put it in the chat. Thanks everybody on YouTube. I'm going to open up the phone now and talk to people on Rockfin. Thanks everybody.